I've been hearing the stories of how young people are treated in the asylum system in Britain. Mary arrived here as a minor in 2004. She currently lives in the north of England in a house shared with other asylum seekers.
Thanks, dear.
Mary is going through the asylum system for a second time. She was deported once before, but has since returned. She grew up in a middle-class family in a small town in rural Uganda.
I had a very good childhood. Me and my brother, my elder brother. It was a happy family.
Her father was a businessman who it's believed was assisting anti-government forces. Aged 16, Mary's life fell apart when soldiers arrived at her home late one night.
When we got to the hallway, we heard my mom scream. So we kept coming. When we got to the living room, there were loads of men, about 6, in the living room. And my dad was all stabbed on the floor and all bleeding. And my brother ran to go and hold him. And he was shot in the head.
Okay.
I started screaming. I just couldn't control myself. And the men came and held me and took me back to the bedroom. 2 of them came holding my mom. And 5 of them took turn in raping me.
And your mum was there when this was happening?
She was meant to watch. She was meant to watch. When they finished, they held my mom. And they were taking her out of the house. So I decided to go follow her. And then I was hit with a baton on the back of my head. And it was knocked unconscious on the floor.
Mary was found by a family friend and taken into hiding. After a few weeks, she was smuggled out of the country, travelling on a false passport in the care of a sympathetic family. 2 weeks after arriving here, Mary was dropped off at the Home Office in Croydon to claim asylum.
I remember meeting this man, and I told him I've come here to get help, and he told me we don't give help to anyone here, so you might be in the wrong place. This is not a charity or something. I looked at him and just cried there and then. I just didn't know what to say. So I remember this other gentleman who came and talked to this man and asked him, the person you took into looks like a child. Have you asked her how old she is? And he asked me, how old are you? And I told him I'm 16.
Because she was a minor, Mary was allowed to stay until she was 18, when her asylum claim would be considered. During this time, she was looked after by a voluntary organisation which provided her with a mentor. Marilyn first met Mary in 2005, when she was 17.
I was asked if I would help a young asylum seeker. One of the workers said that she was a very quiet young lady who never sort of talked. And I went to her hostel. She was living in a hostel at the time. She was in bed, curled up like a little ball. She seemed very young and very frightened. She just wanted to protect herself from the world, and she was very apprehensive of somebody new coming in.
As you developed a relationship with her, did she begin talking to you more about what had happened to her?
She didn't really talk about what had happened to her. She talked about her family, the fact that her father and her brother were dead. I didn't really know how. I didn't learn the circumstances until I went and read some of the court reports, which she told me to read, which I think she didn't want to talk about it. She wanted me to read it.
Right. And what was your impression when you read it?
I was horrified, absolutely horrified, and thought she wouldn't have any problem at all getting acceptance. When
Mary reached 18, her asylum claim was rejected. The Home Office was aware she was suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder, but still refused to believe her story. They said she was an unreliable witness and criticised her for failing to produce evidence. Over the next 3 years, there was a legal battle to keep Mary in the country. But early one day last September, UK border agency officers came for her.
They put me in a van and we went to the airport. We're not humans. They don't take you through where the humans go through. We are cargo. So they take us through where they take the cargo. I refused to get out of the van. So I remember one of the gentlemen putting his knee on the bottom of my back, like trying to pull my arms. That's when they managed to put cuffs on me and strap my feet. Like he said, the job needed to get done. And to him, that was normal.
Mary was flown back to Uganda on a commercial flight surrounded by security guards. She was left at Entebbe Airport, where she used her last £20 to bribe her way past the security checks. Did you have anywhere to go to?
No. Nowhere whatsoever. I had to stay on the street for a week.
And so where were you sleeping?
On the road. This is how bad it was.
And then the next thing, I had an email saying that she'd found a church and she was sleeping in the church overnight and drinking water from a well, basically living on whatever someone could give her to eat.
Mary eventually made contact with a religious charity and was taken in by a volunteer. But Ugandan security services have a fearsome reputation for pursuing anyone connected to rebels. Within weeks, they became aware Mary was in the capital. She was then arrested by the very people she had fled to Britain to escape. What do you want to tell me about your time in detention in Uganda?
A lot. A lot went on down there. I was being asked for things I have no clue about. I don't think in my whole life I can ever bathe to become clean. I don't think that. Even if I was soaked in bleach, I would still stay dirty. I don't mind people saying I'm inhuman because I know I'm not human as well. Because what has happened to my body doesn't happen to human beings. It doesn't.
Mary says she was imprisoned for more than 2 months before someone arranged her release. She was again smuggled out of the country and back to the UK. But this time, she had the evidence of her latest ordeal written all over her body. Numerous scars from burns and beatings she says she received when imprisoned. These pictures were taken the day after she arrived back in London. But even this has not been enough to convince the Home Office. They refused her new asylum claim, saying they did not believe she had been tortured. To support her appeal against this decision, her solicitor sent her to be assessed by the Medical Foundation for Torture Victims. Dr. Jenny Gibson is an expert in the effects of torture.
My job is to take a very careful history of exactly what happened to her, and then I have to examine all her scars. I measure them all in millimetres. It takes a very long time when somebody has as many scars as Mary has. On her head and neck, 2 linear scars, 10 millimetres and 12 millimetres long in a V shape, on left upper forehead near midline. On her back, 33, well-defined, irregularly pigmented scar covering most of left loin. 77, sharply defined scar with atrophic centre on lateral border of foot, depressed, pigmented oval scar, 5 millimetres by 4 millimetres on right cheek.
I hate that one.
You remember that one happening?
I remember that one happening. I was being asked something and I was just staring at him. I just couldn't answer back. And he put the cigarette out on my face.
This is one of the most cast iron cases of torture that I've ever seen. I've seen many cases of torture. I've been working here since 1997, and I've seen many very strong cases of torture, but she is one of the very memorable ones.
Even with a conclusive report by an eminent expert, Mary's latest appeal has been rejected. In a verdict which to me seems irrational, the judge appears to accept that Mary has been tortured, but still says she's lying. So these are taken the day after she got back. Until I'd visited her today, Mary's mentor Marilyn had been unaware Mary had been tortured in Uganda after being deported. That first one there, that's her back. She was burnt with metal rods.
Oh my God. Oh dear.
That's how she travelled. You can see that the wounds are so fresh that they're still oozing.
Oh dear, that's awful.
They're always trying to find a way of just to getting rid of you. They don't look at me for me. They look at me in terms of statistics. That is one gone. That one is out. They don't care.
It's absolutely horrific. Can't say anything but horrified. Horrified. How can they think of sending her back to that? It makes you ashamed to be British.
In response to some of the issues raised in this programme, a spokesman for the UK Border Agency said, "This government is committed to ending the detention of children for immigration purposes and is working to achieve this end. Our staff working directly with families are trained to safeguard and protect the well-being of children and adults in their care. We do not accept that individuals are treated in a heavy-handed manner. Families are not transported in caged vehicles." Croydon Council conceded there are difficulties surrounding the assessment of unaccompanied asylum-seeking children and said that Muhabullah's age assessments were carried out by experienced social workers.